Hey everyone, it's bright and early Friday morning of this crazy weekend, and I'm about ready to leave to go pick up my friend and my daughter Tori, and we're gonna go to a thing called StoryCon, where we're gonna go to some classes and to a whole bunch of keynote speeches by some authors. First one on the list is Neil Shusterman, who's one of my all-time favorite authors, and I have missed him in the past when he's come here, so I'm really excited to meet him, see him, get a book signed by him, and go to one of his classes also. So that is on the list for today. Anyway, I'm thinking I'm going to try and blog some of the events and some of the sights and sounds and craziness of this day and tomorrow. We've got two days worth. So here we go.
Welcome, Neil Shusterman.
Hello everybody, I am very happy to be here. Angie challenged me to write a story a month, and since I needed extra credit in English, I took her up on the challenge, and by the end of 9th grade, I felt like a writer, and I haven't stopped writing ever since. What are the consequences of 24 million people suddenly being without water tomorrow morning? That's dry. What are the consequences of a civil war over reproductive rights? That's unwind. What are the consequences of achieving all the things we want to achieve as a species, including immortality? Scythe. What are the consequences of a virus that brings an unparalleled level of happiness to the world? All better now. These consequences evolve into more than just settings. They are entire systems of reality, designed to force characters and readers to confront something larger than themselves. When a reader finishes, unwind and starts thinking about bodily autonomy and personal rights, that means the world did its job. When a reader puts down Scythe and starts questioning the price of immortality, the world has become a lens through which they see reality. When someone struggling with mental illness reads Challenger Deep and feels seen, the world is no longer fiction, it's a lifeline. That is why world building matters.
So people are scared of me and they avoid me.
I think I have a feeling that Miss, well, I have to go to that one because Miss Demi wants to win it. Sweet booty.
Because one thing I think can be true is that you set out to write one story and a different story comes out. So just to be, that is fun.
And it means more revision. The problem, and then there's usually a solution offered, and you don't have to listen to the solution that they offer.
How are we doing today? Good. I am really happy to be here with you today. And who here likes to write? Yeah. It's that kind of group. And who here likes to read? Hopefully those things go hand in hand usually. It's very mutually beneficial if they do. Well, I want to talk to you guys today about, some aspects of writing and why we do it and why to me I can find meaning in it, stuff like that. You can write better about something that you're really familiar with, right? And like you can write more authentically about something that you know a lot about. And I like that advice, except it was hard for a fantasy writer. Because when I'm talking about like what I really know in my real life, do I know dragons? I know them from movies, I know them from books, I know them from imagining, but do I really know them? I can't say I do. Or fairies or trolls or whatever. And so instead, I like to say, write what you love. Because I think it's more powerful than write what you know anyway. Because if you write what you love, or you write what you're most passionate about, or what you're most into, What you know might not be spy adventures, but you might really love spy adventures, and that might really fire up your imagination, and you might make up some really awesome ones.
Not as crazy it was a minute ago. What the heck? This is not helpful. Whew. Did you? So what is in it? What's in it? Maybe we can walk around after we get this next one signed. It smells like something though, right?
The #1 New York Times best-selling author of the Lunar Chronicle. Also Heartless, the Renegades trilogy.
Hello! I am so thrilled and honored to be your evening keynote speaker here at StoryCon, this beautiful StoryCon. What do you think? Like, best day ever? It's been incredible. I'm so glad you're here with me. Who heard Neil Shusterman this morning? I actually missed it. I was so bummed, so crushed that I had to miss it, but I heard there was tears in the audience. Who saw Brandon Mull? I know there were tears in the audience for that one as well. Just let's set an expectation. The happy writer talk, probably not going to make you cry. Anger at the world, anger at injustices, yes, these things can lead to absolutely incredible stories. But I rebel against the idea that you have to be struggling in order to create anything worthwhile. Personally, I think that a lot of my best work comes when I am excited about my project. It comes when I cannot wait to get to work. I cannot wait to tell this story that I'm working on. It comes when I am truly having a lot of fun. It is also a journey that is filled with so much joy to be had in the little moments and the big moments. When you do get that agent, when you do get that book deal, when you hold your book for the first time and see your name on the cover, it is an incredible moment. So wherever you are, I truly hope that you will be inspired to find your joys as much as possible. And when the going gets tough, I just want you to remember that Marissa says, you totally got this.
Hey everyone, welcome to day 2 of going to the StoryCon writing, reading, bookish, fun, authory conference. I'm driving in the car right now to get there. Yesterday I had a car full of people, and today I'm going all by myself, which is fine because I've done this sort of thing many times all by myself. So no big deal, but it's so much more fun with people, you know what I mean? Anyways, yesterday the keynote speakers were Neil Schusterman, Brandon Mull, and Marissa Meyer. So we got to see speeches from all of them. I got books signed by Neil Schusterman and Margaret Peterson Haddix and Jess Smart Smiley. I don't know if you know who he is. There was Tori did Marissa Meyer, but I couldn't go to her signing line because I had Neil Schusterman's masterclass at the same time. Today the keynote speakers will be Jeff Kinney from Diary of a Preppy Kid and Danielle somebody, I forgot her last name, and Lanny Taylor. So that should be really, really fun. And today I will get books signed by my favorite author, Casey West, who I talk about all the time on this channel. So I have all her books to get signed, but they are saying we can only bring like 3, but I don't want to haul tons of books anyway, so I'm good. Just taking a few and say hi to her.
It's my honor and pleasure to introduce our keynote today. Danielle Clayton is a New York Times best-selling author of the Convergence series, the Bell series, Shattered Midnight, co-author of Blackout, Whiteout, The Rumor Game, and The Tiny Pretty Things duology.
But I'm going to try to tell you some things. It's going to be maybe more of a rant. I was quoted in the New York Times, and a famous writer named Joyce Carol Oates didn't like what I said, and she tweeted at me. And I got doxxed, and I had to have a security detail for a year. And it got even worse when I wrote these books, my favorite books that I've ever written, which is the Controverse series, which is about a magic school in the sky. And as soon as that first book got published, angry readers told me that no one wanted a new magic school, that everyone wanted to just go to Hogwarts, and that I was challenging J.K. Rowling's legacy, which she's doing all on her own with her online behavior as of late. I've done nothing. I didn't even have to say anything. She's doing it herself. And Magic School series existed long before there was Hogwarts. I was a grown-up when Hogwarts came out, just aging myself. Miss Cackle's Academy for Witches was my favorite one, the worst witch. And so this year, this month, I haven't really felt much heart, hope, and oftentimes I felt divorced from my humanity. I've been angry, frankly. I wake up and I have to fight for hope. I have to battle to get to my computer and sit down and write and open those emails and delete those threats and think through, how am I going to write these books? How am I going to continue this series and all of the other things that I have to do, right? And my grandmother, bless her, continues to remind me when I get grumpy and I call her with my complaints and I'm mad, that to not let the light go out, right? Don't let my heart harden so it can no longer hear. If I'm honest, I'm anxious about what's happening to books in this country. It's making me feel like I'm not going to be able to hear or listen, that I'm always going to have to fight,
and always gonna have to deal with threats over books. I make stuff up for a living, and yet I get these kinds of messages. They feel the tension. They feel the loss of hope. They feel the loss of heart. They absorb our anxiety and ingest our hopelessness. Or they can soak up our rage and anger and parrot our nastiness. And we tell them to listen, but I don't think the adults are listening. I think that there is an unwell and moral rot consuming us little by little. That the children that I get to see when I go around the country and do school visits, they're unhoused, they're in refugee camps, they're riddled with anxiety, they're scared. Some of them are in bits and pieces from bombs, they're in eternal darkness of tunnels. They're being told their identities aren't real, they're hungry. They are being threatened. They struggle to read. They reject reading. They have no books in their homes. Their imaginations and ability to dream are being ripped from them. They're being told when characters that reflect their identities are present in books, they don't deserve to exist. They're being censored and erased. And I'm worried that if we don't come together as a community of readers and writers and educators and parents and teachers, that we will not protect their right to read, their right to dream, their right to safety, their right to dignity, their right to experience the power of literacy, their right to see themselves reflected on the pages of stories. And if they don't get to have books, how will they learn to stand up to us, adults, and make this messy universe a little bit better? I always have about 3 or 4 books with me at any given time so that I can hold on to those. They're the things that make this world feel a little smaller, a little less scary, a place where we can work out the dark and scary parts of this strange human existence. And I think that books are a place where we can meet each other and meet ourselves. Are all of the children all right in our communities? All. I mean all of them. The BIPOC ones, the queer ones, the disabled ones, the Muslim ones, the Jewish ones, the undocumented ones, the traumatized ones, the neurodivergent ones, the poor ones, the difficult ones that you don't want to deal with. We need to make sure that they're all well and that they all have books. We have to deliver on that promise and carve out that space. And so I'll leave you with the wise and powerful words of James Baldwin, who is a writer who is my lighthouse when I'm stuck out to sea and when I don't want to write and when I don't want to do anything. We cannot afford despair. We cannot tell the children there's no hope. And so we must keep the light on, and we must keep our hearts listening and not let ourselves use books as a tool to divide. And to the teens and kids in the audience, I want you to make really good trouble. I want you to be a menace about books and the freedom to read. Because you have to learn how to stand up to us when we say, no, you can't read that thing, you need to stand up. And the only way we find our once upon a time is if we do it together so that everyone can have one. And thank you for listening to my rant.
And the guy sitting next to me was an agent who had been doing this for, over 25 years. He had lots of big bestsellers. And he said, I read the first line. And he said, if I'm hooked, I read the second line. If I'm still hooked, I read the third line. And as soon as I'm not hooked, I stop. And at the time, I remember being like, oh, that seems so harsh. And I can tell you, it's just so true.
Recognize some of those titles. The Goose Girl, Book of 1,000 Days, and she was a Newbery Honor recipient for the Princess Academy. So join me in welcoming to the stage Shannon Hale.
Hey guys, I'm so glad to be here today. Still buzzing from Danielle Clayton's opening keynote this morning. Who's going to be a a menace in this world. Let's make some good trouble. Yes, in your own beautiful, safe way. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I had the idea that this is what it meant to be a girl, right? This is how the right way to be a girl. These princesses showed like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I trust you. I trust you, a man. Oh, look at all the body language. Oh. It's so they don't really know what to do except for, oh, I'm gonna sing and I don't know what else to do. And I can do it. Someday, my princess. I forgot. What ideas are you here to disrupt? What ideologies pinch you too tight? What do you have to say? That's what you get to decide for yourself. We now live in a world with a lot different kinds of princesses. There's a lot of different examples of different ways to be a princess. You guys are in a very different world than the tiny one in. And that is not a realistic pursuit. You can never make a living. I heard that a lot. It fills your soul. You don't have to earn money in order to make that valid. You are valid just in yourself. You don't have to earn your worth as a writer or as a human.
An internationally best-selling author, published in more than 30 languages around the world. Her books include the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. Make some noise if you've heard of any of these. And the Strange the Dreamer duology. And she's been a finalist for the National Book Award and the Prince Medal and lives in Portland, Oregon with her family. I could not be more thrilled to introduce you all to Lainey Taylor. Let's give it up for Lainey.
You guys are amazing. Okay, I'm nervous, but we're gonna pretend like I'm not.
Somebody came up to our table because she was like, I totally discovered you on YouTube. And Brady's like, I got like 100 followers on YouTube. But she's read all his books and she totally loves them. And that's the thing. All of the places are viable options. So you should have accounts for all of them, by the way. Just claim your name at least so nobody goes and actually takes your name. And then utilize them. They all work a little bit different. But you're connecting with people, and if you talk about books like your books, guess what? It's going to gather people who are like-minded to yours.
To that point where you feel ready to accept criticism, constructive criticism, okay? Not just criticism for the sake of being mean, all right? But somebody who actually believes in your work, who's excited about your story, but who's able to see maybe some of the plot holes or some of the characterization issues or some of the pacing problems or whatnot, and then being open to that. And also recognizing that if somebody makes a suggestion, that doesn't mean that's how you have to fix it. But it just shows you that there is a problem there. So you can decide how to fix it. You're the author, you're the creator of this story. But if you get more than one person saying, this is a thing I had an issue with, you don't have to take their way of fixing it, but you do need to recognize it needs to be fixed.
Jeff Kinney has been named one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. He is also the creator of Pop Tropica, which was also named one of Time Magazine's 50 best websites. He spent his childhood in Washington, D.C. area, later moved to New England, where he and his family own a bookstore called An Unlikely Story. The person we are introducing on stage tonight has become a legend in our time. Please give it up for Jeff Kinney.
Thank you, everyone. That was a great introduction. Thank you so much. Jennifer, this is awesome. Now, before I dive in, I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Each and every one of you. It's an incredible privilege to be speaking to so many bright, creative people who are gathered to celebrate the life-changing magic of books. It was in middle school, a miracle happened. That's when a bookstore opened up in a strip mall just down the street from me. It was called Crown Books, and that's where I started to make discoveries that would truly help shape me into the person that I'd one day become. And what I discovered was that I loved fantasy. I started off by reading books like The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Any fans here? All right. History of comics, so I got some books that taught me about the rich legacy of comic strips. Then I got a book that taught me all the tools of the trade called How to Draw and Sell Comic Strips. So here those are, right? And then something really terrible happened. Without warning, the bookstore closed and I was cut off from making new discoveries. One, newspapers were starting to contract, and the opportunities for a new cartoon to break through were getting much slimmer. And two, I just didn't have the talent for it. What if I wrote a fictional journal that was a mix of cartoons and text? And what if I wrote it from the perspective of a middle school boy and drew like I was a kid? So I got to work. I bought a blank sketch journal and started filling it up with funny stories from my growing up years. I thought I'd fill up that sketchbook in about 3 weeks, but as the weeks and months wore on, I realized that this was going to take much longer than I thought. Let's take a look at those sketch pages. So you'll notice that my ideas are a mess. There's no organization of any sort, and this is a pretty good map of how my brain works. Now, Gladwell has something called the 10,000 hour rule. He says that to become an expert at anything, you need to put in 10,000 hours, which equates to about 10 years. And that felt right to me because I needed 9 or 10 years to become an expert at this very specific thing, creating Diary of a Wimpy Kid books. But the best part of my life has been getting to connect with readers all over the world. And I hope you'll indulge me by letting me show you a video of some of my travels. You think we can roll the tape? Here we go. I didn't realize until just recently that seeing myself in the pages of a book as a child was a privilege. In this vast, diverse country, not every kid gets to experience that privilege. I think it's ironic that at the moment when publishing is becoming more diverse, we're living through an epidemic of book banning. And of course, the bans disproportionately affect writers whose voices have historically been underrepresented. Seeing yourself in the pages of a book is a form of validation. And I'm sure there are many readers here who have discovered a book in which your own unique experience is reflected back to you. This validation isn't just beneficial to a reader, it can actually be life-saving, which is why we need to fight back against book banning in whatever way we're able. Now, I think we're doing that by being here. The reason I was drawn to this event was because I read about the types of people who would be attending. Bright, energetic, curious, empathetic, people looking to build community who share a love of reading. You're inspiring to people like myself and to all the other authors who want to make the world a little better through words and pictures. Good at your craft. Put in the 10,000 hours. Create a routine and hold yourself accountable. I guarantee you, the ideas you have in your head have value, and your story needs to be told. And when you're done and your book is out in the world, I'd love for you to come to my bookstore and step onto my stage, because my life will be better for hearing your story.
I hope you had fun coming along on this little journey with me for this 2-day conference. It's been a crazy couple weeks, and I'm ready just kind of to curl up and sleep for a while. Maybe sleep and read. I don't know. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.